Welcome to Storytime at the Rubus, a weekly podcast where we talk about the Bonneview Music and Arts Festival. I'm your host, Sharla.
And I'm Daniel, and that was a little bit of a fib because we're actually going to talk more about Woodstock this week.
True.
Yeah, so not the old hippie Woodstock of 1969, but the one 30 years after that in 1999. Because, Sharla, how did you like that new Netflix documentary that's out?
I enjoyed it better than the one that was on HBO.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
I think it went more in depth a little bit.
Yeah, it does. So the one that was on HBO Max a couple years ago was like not really a one episode thing, but just like a one documentary thing. It was about 2 hours long. The new one that they put on Netflix is a 3-episode docuseries. Each episode is about 45 minutes long. So it goes a little bit more in depth. You and I talked about this on kind of like our history episode that we did last summer. Woodstock 99 was a dangerous deal, but a big deal that kind of changed the festival market for, well, pretty much until now, right?
Absolutely, yes.
There's a lot of things that are done the way they are now because of what went wrong in 1999, right?
Oh, yes. They were already coming off some bad press from 94, but they went ahead and had 99.
Yeah. So in a moment, we have a special guest.
Very special guest.
Yeah, we had to be reminded was there. So I know a lot of people are talking about Woodstock 99 because of the documentary. It turns out that our good friend Pondo was there.
Was actually there. He said he was 25 years old.
He had mentioned this before, but I had totally forgot. So we wanted to get him on this week to talk about his experience. And oh my gosh, does he have stories to tell about it. I do want to set the scene just for a moment before we jump to him. Charlotte, what were you up to in 1999?
In 1999, I was 16 years old.
Yeah, me too.
I was in the 10th grade, and I had just gotten my first car, which was a 1994 teal green Mustang.
Oh, yeah, that was a cool car.
Yes.
I wanted to just kind of like set the scene a little bit because 1999, it feels like, I don't know, the universe converged upon itself. So many things happened in 99. Like, so many pop culture, like, touchstones happened. I mean, think about just movies. Like, Star Wars came back with Episode 1. Austin Powers, Fight Club. With music, there was, like, so much happening, too. Clearly, as you're going to hear from, like, the bands that Pondo is going to talk about here in a moment. There were also a lot of crazy things that happened in the news. I don't know. 1999 was just, like, one of those years where so much happened. And for those of us like you and me being that age at that time, it was really a weird, exciting, but confusing time to come of age. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. I was bopping down the road with my Dixie Chicks CD and my Sheryl Crow CD.
Oh, I had Third Eye Blind. We'll talk about that with Pondo later. Oh, gosh. I do want to give you a heads up before we go into the talk with Pondo. This is kind of like a warning. There was some crazy stuff that happened at Woodstock 99. And we talk with Pondo about that in some detail. So if you have any issue with any conversation about some of the not so great things that happened at Woodstock 99, I just want to give you a heads up. We do talk about that. We do talk about some of the sexual assault that happened and some other kind of scary things. So if you don't want to hear that, I just want to give you a fair warning on that. We don't like talking about those kind of things, but you can't not talk about it when you talk about Woodstock 99, right, Charlotte?
Right.
Yeah, so just a fair warning on that. Just want to give you a heads up that we do talk about that. But Pondo does have some amazing stories. He was there. He was in the thick of it. Oh, man. I don't know what else I can tell you except let's just jump into it, right, Charlie?
Absolutely.
I feel like a lot of people got very interested in Woodstock 99 because there was a 3-part Netflix documentary series that came on. We're 2 episodes of 3 into it so far. There was another one a couple of years ago on HBO Max where it was just like a documentary movie. It wasn't like a 3-parter like this Netflix thing. And I feel like there's a lot of renewed interest in it. We put out the call. We wanted to see like, hey, is there any Bonneviewians that were there? And come to find out, you were there. Yeah, I think you had.
Yep, I was there. First off, I'll comment on the documentary. Parts of it are, you guys haven't watched all of it yet, so I'm not going to give any spoilers. Yeah. Parts of it are good. they do detail some of the stuff that happened. I feel like some of the choices they used to represent what was going on there were not representative of what was going. They have, okay, I'm going to give a spoiler away, and I apologize. Nobody from the West stage is on that documentary. There was 2 main stages. The East stage was the main stage. The West stage was the one you had to walk forever to get to. And every act that they have on that documentary is from the East stage. They have
So let's
nothing
talk about the geography of this just for a second, because they kind of showed this on the Netflix thing. It looked like it was a giant L. So you had the big stage on one side, and did you have like the rave hangar in between that and the other big stage on the other side? Okay.
I passed by the rave hangar one night. I was going to go in, but before I went in, I saw 4 people throwing up. And they were just all bent over. I'm saying, okay, 25. I haven't done anything too heavy. If I go in there, it's not going to be good. So I just kept on going to where I was going. So let's start about how the whole thing started.
I was going to say, let's start from the beginning and hear the whole story. Like, where were you in 1999? What was Pondo's life like back then? How did you first hear about Woodstock 99?
Okay. Pondo was 25 years old and didn't know shit. Thought I did. I was a big music concert person. Me and the girl I was dating at the time, we really went to a ton of shows. And we saw this advertisement for Rome, New York, Woodstock 99. Now, I had won a contest to have the pay-per-view of the one that they had earlier for 94. Woodstock 94, I won a contest, so I recorded all of it. And 94 was amazing. Nine Inch Nails played. They were probably the best act there. Joe Cocker played. A lot of amazing acts, and it was really, really good. So when I heard about Woodstock 99, I said, man, we should do this. We could do this. So me and her said, we need to get 2 more people. I said, because if we get 4 of us will be okay. So I asked my good buddy, therapist, Jacob, because he wasn't a therapist at the time, nor a rapist. I said, hey, man, do you want to go do Woodstock 99? And he was like, yeah, that's fine. And then a friend of ours, who I won't mention his name because he doesn't deserve any credit, he turned 16 while he was there. So he was your guys' ages. He probably would have hung out with you.
I was 15. I turned 16 just a couple of weeks after Woodstock 99, I guess.
So we had this great idea. We are going to go to Woodstock. We purchased tickets. Tickets were relatively cheap too. I think they were they like, I'm wanting to say, everyone's saying 150.
Yeah, that's what they said on the documentary, 150, which is,
I remember them being like,
but now that's like a hell of a deal.
I remember them being like $99 or something because we got them early. And we're getting ready to go and everything. And about a week before, the girl that I was seeing at the time joined a church that you had to pay to join.
What?
That's called a cult. Yes. So she's the one that had the really good car. All the rest of us had stuff that would not get you from A to B, much less DC or any of those. So we're figuring out what the hell we're going to do. So a buddy of mine, she gave me the ticket. That was her way of saying, okay, it's okay. I'll give you the ticket. Well, I have like 5 days to figure this out. So I called up a buddy of mine. He said, yeah, man, my car is really dependable. We can go for sure. I said, okay. So we're kind of getting ready. And 2 days later, he calls me and goes, the universal joint just fell out of my car. I can't get it to go anywhere. He goes, can I still get the ticket? I said, no, obviously you can't. So to make a long story short, or a short story long, we came up with the idea that has haunted us for years. Greyhound bus.
Oh, I didn't know this part. You went that way? That's insane.
So we went to get on the Greyhound bus, and we're going to get there Friday morning, ready for the opening of Woodstock, and we're all going to be great. First off, I forgot how much the tickets were. It was way more than the fucking ticket to get into Woodstock. Way more. So we get on the bus and we're doing everything, and they take us to this little town, and the guy at our station had mapped out everything. You're going to do this. Do not deviate from this. Apparently the words do not deviate from this do not apply to people who work at the Greyhound bus station because they're like, oh man, we're going to send you here and you'll get there quicker. During the 6-hour layover in St. Louis that we had no layover at all. We're exhausted and tired. They had these little TV things that you sit in and you could sit down and watch TV. So we put quarters in and none of them worked. So we're sitting there and we're all asleep trying to wait for our bus. I look up and there's about 4 or 5 people walking towards us. I'm waking all the rest of them, hey, get up, get up. So then we pretty much take turns kind of watching because we ain't going to have anybody steal our stuff. Because if you've never been to the Greyhound bus station in St. Louis in 1999, let me tell you, you ain't seen nothing. The worst pit I've ever been in is probably Pantera. Nothing compared to what we had going on here. So anyways, we end up getting there Friday night late.
Oh, man.
So we missed all day Friday. So I cannot tell you anything about Friday. Unless you want to know about buses, about them trying to split us up, almost losing our luggage. We finally got there.
So what time did you get in? Did you have to go through any security? How does security compare to what you go through today going to Bonnaroo?
Oh, was pretty bad, honestly. They checked everything. I mean, they did. They went through and they checked your bag. They checked your tent. They checked everything. The one thing that helped us was you had the gigantic wall that went around, the mural.
Yeah.
We camped on the outside because we took one look at Tent City. Oh my gosh. Were you guys in Tent City?
Well, no, remember, we weren't there, but tell us what you saw. What did you see in the Tent City?
Okay. So we decided to get there and tents are everywhere, like jammed together, like you got no room to put anything. It's like, and I said, there was one little spot that looked like it was about 1.5 miles that you were going to have to walk to get. I said, no, skip that. So we camped outside the mural. There was other people over there. I put Kentucky Wildcats on the outside of my thing because I'm from Kentucky. This would later on prove to be a stupid idea. But anyway, so we get there, we're ready. It's Saturday. Saturday morning, we're going to go and we're going to go in and when you walked in through security, they checked you. They did a wine, they patted you down. Our security was pretty cool. They were pleasantly nice, but at the same point in time, all they would do is constantly complain.
What were they complaining about?
Here, too damn hot. Wish I was drinking beer. Anybody got any drugs? That's what it was.
So is it true what they said in the documentary that they were like looking for any food or waters? You couldn't bring.
Yes, you could not take water in there.
That's insanity.
Now, I have not told you about how smart Pondo was when he was 25. The food that I took with us on our trip, since we were on a bus, was a big box of oatmeal cream pies. That is the food that Pondo took to last the time at Woodstock 99.
That was all?
Yeah, and don't worry, it gets better. Oh, it gets better.
You've learned so much since then.
What's that?
You've learned so much since then.
Yes, so much. How I didn't remain skinny like that, I'll never know. So we work our way. We get in. First thing I see is a guy who has a sign that says "It's Woodstock, go wild," and he's completely naked. So I'm like, okay, not my cup of tea. Not going to do that. If I'd have had the biking horns and the clock, maybe, but I'm young at this point. So we're heading, and when you walk to any stage, it's over concrete. Always over concrete.
So for anybody that hasn't watched the documentary yet, it was like all like an old Air Force base, and you were like walking around on the runway.
Yes, and you walk and walk and walk, and then you get, and every time we went to see a show, we were slightly on the left side of the stage. And I said, the reason why we're going to do this is I had found at the main stage, there was kind of like a little path that no one sat on. I said, so if we need to get the crap out of here, we can take this little path. So the first band we saw that day was the Tragically Hip. I know a lot of people love that band. And I know part of the Pondo Army is not to bash another band.
Oh, no.
Ooh. We called them for the longest time. Their nickname was the Tragically Gip because we just did not feel that band. They were not what we were there for. I'm sure looking back on it, I was probably dumb and stupid, but hey, it happens. Matter of fact, I gave them a rating of a D- whenever we left. And the only reason why I didn't give them an F is because I cut their set a little bit early. So if that helps at all. So one of the acts we were excited about seeing, and looking on it now sounds utterly ridiculous, but was Kid Rock.
Well, in retrospect, that is ridiculous. But listen, I was old enough. 1999 was a wild year. It feels like it was the nexus of the universe in retrospect. There was those kind of acts that now we look on as being kind of ridiculous and a little embarrassing. But back in the day, like Limp Bizkit, Kid Rock, Korn, all those acts, everyone loved them. It was kind of like they said in the documentary, the antithesis of like NSYNC and Backstreet Boys at the time. So how was that Kid Rock show?
I talked to Jacob today, and I seem to remember that we had it ranked as the number one set we saw the whole time we were there. He come out and played Ball with the Ball right off the bat. And that's the only song we pretty much knew, because Cowboy hadn't been released yet. And I'm like, this guy's going to blow his damn wad on the first song. And he comes out there, and if you saw the documentary, he comes out there with a fur coat, comes out there, and he just nailed it. I have seen him a couple of times, and by far his performance there was probably the best I've ever seen of him. The one thing looking back on it now is utterly ridiculous. At one point in time, he says, I want everybody to throw water bottles in the air.
Was that the first time that you saw that, where people were throwing junk at the stage and all around?
Pretty much. Tragically, they hadn't done it. So I used to have pictures of it. I don't have them anymore, but we all threw water bottles up in the air. Well, obviously, guess where they're going to go? Either on somebody's head or on the ground. Boom, 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 boom. Great set. Awesome.
So where were you with the crowd for that? Like, what was it like? Were people already starting to get pretty rough at that point?
It was, the pit wasn't extremely dangerous yet, because we were close to it, but there was a little bit of moshing. The thing about it was Kid Rock wasn't as popular as he is now, so a lot of people hadn't seen him before. I think had it been a year or two later, that pit could have been really dangerous.
Now, he had made waves, because I remember, again, I'm showing my age with this, but I was watching TRL on MTV back in the day, and they were already pushing him as a big, rock artist. And I remember Bob to Bob was like back in like the spring of 99, because I remember people listening to that on spring break and stuff like that. So you're right, that was his big hit. Not a lot of people knew the rest of that album. But again, just watching that documentary and seeing what you saw in person, seeing people blow up when he throws off the fur coat and he says, I'm Kid Rock, and he goes into that, it looked insane.
Yeah, he goes, my name is Kid, and he held it for a long time. And then he's supposed to hold it all the way to goes Kid Rock, but he lost his voice. So he's like, my name is Kid. It's Kid, baby. It's Kid Rock. And then they go right with the downbeat of Ball with the Ball.
Yeah.
Twisted Brown Trucker was on point, played amazing. He played for about an hour and a half, and it was solid. And he did Sweet Home Alabama. And if you've seen him live, he did where he did all the instruments at the very end. And we didn't know to expect that. And that was pretty damn cool. Our next big jaunt was to go see Everclear.
Oh yeah, I loved them back in the day.
They were, however, on the West Stage. So here we go. We're doing the trot. I said, man, we're getting kind of thirsty. We should get something to drink. So we go over in 1999, 20-ounce sodas, $4.
That sounds horrible now, but back then that was insanity.
Water, $4. 10-pound bag of ice, $20.
What? That's nuts now.
$20. Oh, it went up to $50 the last day. $50. Yes. It got pretty hairy. We'll get to that in just a minute. Let me mark off. Everclear was good. They come out and they say we're on the stage that sucks. We're on the stage that can't rock. They took it personally. They played their set. They ended with Santa Monica, and it was good. And it was a really good set. It wasn't great, but I would put it easily as one I would watch again.
Let's get into Bonnaroo. That would be a great throwback act.
Oh yeah, yeah. The next band that we're going to see, we're decided we're coming back to the East Stage. We're walking. Sun's beating down on us. Boom, boom, boom. I may get the day wrong on this, but we stopped by the camp because my buddy Jacob has a psychedelic cowboy outfit that he's going to wear. And this is what started the Pondo Army. So y'all can blame him. It's his damn fault.
This is where the idea came from eventually.
Yeah, he had a hat and like these long pants and this vest, and it was like psychedelic as hell. And what that was code word for, that guy's got good drugs. Because he got asked, I guarantee you, at least 100 times, hey man, got any mushrooms? Hey man, got any smoke? Hey man, they started saying stuff. I think one guy said, hey man, you got any alligator? I said, what the hell's an alligator? I want to know what that was. So everybody was like, man, we hear you got the best drugs. I'm like, look at him going, yeah, you got the best drugs. All we had was Tylenol in the bag. I think that's what we had. So we head back and we go see Dave Matthews Band. They're there for we got to see half their set. It was packed. I mean, crowded. And if you've never seen Dave Matthews Band live, even if you're not a fan, go see them. They are one of those bands that just puts on a show. Dave Matthews even admitted years ago, he said he knew he couldn't sing that well. So he went and found every damn good instrumentalist he could, put them in his band. So that way, if you don't like the singing, you can listen to them. So that's pretty smart thinking on his part.
This is a whole other story, but we should recognize that it's almost the anniversary of the time that they dumped all that poop on the show.
Yes.
Today, yeah.
Oh yeah, whole other thing altogether. But
yes, that's that. After that, their career kind of spot. Now, I saw a ton of acts at Woodstock 99. I'm going to go ahead and tell you some of them because I will get to their performance. I saw Kid Rock. I saw Everclear. I saw Limp Bizkit.
Now wait, pause there. Let's talk about that Limp Bizkit show because that was the focus of the documentary.
I will get to it.
Okay, we'll come back around. All right.
Okay, so I saw Kid Rock, Everclear, Limp Bizkit, Rage Against the Machine, Metallica. Let's see, who else do I have down here? Red Hot Chili Peppers. I saw Creed, which we'll talk about that in a minute.
Yeah,
Our Lady Peace. Did I get hurt during any of those shows? No.
Really?
What artist did I get hurt during? Alanis Morissette.
You got to watch her, man. She rages.
So, as my buddy Jacob said, she spun around in a circle for about 2 hours. She just kept spinning. I had a big crush on her. So we're up pretty close. And this one girl behind me decides she is going to crowd surf.
At Atlanta.
Not seeing any way to get up, she looks at said guy, and I'm going to use his back. She runs, takes off, and plants her fucking foot right in the middle of my back and her other foot on my shoulder. And then she takes her hand and hits me here and just launches herself. Hits me in my kidney.
Oh, man.
That is what put me down at Woodstock 99. None of the other acts. Alanis Morissette was good. It would have been a lot better if Surfer Girl, and if you're hearing it, you owe me some money. Yeah. So anyways, after Alanis Morissette, the buzz started because the next act was the act that pretty much everybody was there for. And it's the act that they talked about on the documentary.
Yeah.
Limp Bizkit.
This is what I was curious about. I was wondering if you were there.
Limp Bizkit was one of those acts and one of those moments that defies description. The one thing I will tell you is this: there were girls that were crowd surfing and guys were grabbing all over them constantly.
Yeah, you can kind of see it in the documentary, and it's tough to watch that because, like, man, 99 was a different time where we just didn't really have the awareness and respect that we have these days. It was a different world where a lot of that was thrown out the window, unfortunately.
When we show up the very first day, we're making our way up to the front. There's a crowd of people around a girl on her knees. And this is what we're here chanting: lick his cock, lick his cock. And there's like 4 guys in a row. All of them got their dicks out, and she's taking turns on each guy.
Oh,
wow.
God.
And I'm thinking, I've got a 16-year-old here that I got to be responsible for. And he's staring like he just found like the Holy Grail. And so we just moved along. But
you got nothing to see here. Let's go.
Yeah, there was, I hate to say frat boy mentality because not all of them were frat boys, but there was a lot of people there. When Limp Bizkit came out there, it was very hot. The water situation was a fucking joke. They talked about a little bit on a documentary, filling up water bottles. No, they did have hoses at the very front and they would hose us down a little bit, but they come out and Limp Bizkit just tears it up. They are playing there. Everyone's raging. Everyone's having a good time. I look over at the pit and it is like chaos.
So where were you at this show? Like how far were you from?
I was about, if you're familiar with Bonnaroo, do you know where the pit ends on the witch stage? Like going back a little bit, we were right there on the left. We were probably there's probably about 13 people in front of us.
So you were in the thick of it. You were right.
We were pretty damn close for Limp Bizkit.
Wow, man, that's insanity.
So
what was it like? Did you get scared at any point?
A couple of times, but our section was cool. They were chill. They were just jumping up and down a couple of times and all that, but nobody was beating the crap out of each other. So that was pretty cool. So anyways, they somehow or another, they get this fucking car, this big ass board up front. And at that time, they started having sound problems. They didn't talk about this on the documentary.
Really?
Limp Bizkit had sound problems. Their speakers messed up quite a bit on a couple of songs. They finally got it straightened out. And then Fred Durst up on stage. He goes, I want to come out there. Well, shit, everybody went nuts. So he got up on the damn platform and security wanted no part of this. You could just tell they're like, I ain't getting paid enough for this shit. But they're trying their best to make sure this is hold up because people are trying to pull it down. And it's just not, looking back on it, how more injuries and more shit didn't happen is a miracle to me. But he made it through the set. Limp Bizkit was up. Limp Bizkit was great. They're like, get off and everything. And I look around and people look like they've been in a war. You see some people's got a busted nose. You see no one's got a shirt on. I did because I didn't want to scare anybody, but no one's got a shirt on. And you see a lot of girls that are surrounded by guys.
Oh, no.
And I'm not saying necessarily that I saw anything, but you felt a presence there.
There were some stories that came out in the news. I was kind of like doing some reading after I watched the first 2 episodes of the Netflix documentary, and there was some. I mean, let's just confront the truth of the situation. There were some rape allegations that were very credible that were in the news. Sometimes mentioned as specifically happening at that show. And it was a mess.
To say that it could happen in the pit, a lot of people said no because it was so rowdy, but it was easily possible. If a girl was crowd surfing or fell into a guy, all he's got to do is just pull something down real quick. And next thing you know, there's a sexual assault.
Yeah.
And I first off, I hate that. And that's one of the things, cheesy plug, that's one of the things I love about Bonnaroo because of the community. Because it seems like we do take care of each other. And I've told everybody who's in the Pondo Army and all my friends, I said, if I see you doing something that's inappropriate, I said, not only will I call you out on it, I said, I'm going to pull you out on it because I'm going to grab a part of you and I'm going to remove you from the situation.
Oh, gosh.
So I don't care how long we've been friends. I said, if you're doing something you shouldn't be doing, somebody needs to stop you and I'll be the parent. So
well, that's why we have that in the code. I mean, everybody's on the lookout for that guy, that girl, because it's something that we are all supposed to call out. And that, obviously they didn't have that kind of code at Woodstock 99. So I was going to ask you also, like, something they call out in this new documentary and the old HBO one is things started going south when Limp Bizkit played Break Stuff.
It's getting ready to get a lot worse on Saturday night. Next is Rage Against the Machine. Rage comes out there and plays. And they're just getting the crowd ripped up in a frenzy. They're playing Killing in the Name. Everybody's going nuts. Everybody's just, at this point, you're tired. You're exhausted. You're drunk. I went back to my camp early because my kidney from Surfer Girl was starting to really hurt. So I went back to camp early, which looking back on it was probably the dumbest thing I could have done, because had I gotten lost, you ain't gonna find nobody. I was like, fuck. But anyways, last song plays for Rage Against the Machine. They got a flag hanging off the little DJ thing.
Oh, yeah.
Take the lighter, light the American flag. You've got half the people cheering, you got half the people booing, and then the people that are cheering and booing start getting into it with each other. I have nothing against Rage Against the Machine, and I understand what they're trying to do sometimes. I think in that situation, in that environment, that was probably not the best thing to do.
Well, it's probably literally fuel on the fire that night, I
Right.
suppose. Yeah.
So next, and I got to hear all this band, but I did not get to see them because we were relatively close. Next was a little band that the rumor was going around the whole time of Woodstock 99 that Metallica was not going to play.
Oh.
We got there. First thing we heard was Metallica's not playing. Metallica's not playing. James Hetfield comes out on the stage and goes, letting you know Metallica's not going to be here tonight. Ha! And then they break right into Seek and Destroy. And then they played their whole set. It was edgy, but it wasn't what Limp Bizkit and Rage was. So it kind of toned down a little bit, but you still had some shit going on. That night, I think I slept about maybe 2 hours, because at this point in time, you hear people walking by, and I'm thinking, okay, they're going to smash into my tent. They're going to walk into my tent. What the hell's going on? Made it through it.
All right, so Pondo, you turned in early on Saturday. How did things start out on Sunday? What did it look like?
On Sunday, we got to hear the country stylings of Willie Nelson, which was really not what's kind of, we didn't stay for all of Willie, but we did listen to a little bit of him, and he was good. He's Willie Nelson. I mean, you know what you're going to get. We had wanted to see Mike Ness. He is the lead singer of Social Distortion. And we knew we were going to have to leave to get over to the West stage. So here we go. Heat's beaten down. I think they said the heat index that day wasn't that bad. I think it was only 99 that day. Day before it had been 102. So we're walking. So it's like, we could get a bottle of water for $4. And okay, no, yeah, we might as well. This is the point of right before Mike Ness is the point where I peed the one time the whole festival.
How is that even possible?
Looking back on that, I don't know how I'm still alive. I peed one time. I don't remember what color it was. It probably wasn't yellow.
Like green.
I peed one time. And it was for a while. And we made it over to Mike Ness on the West, and he was good. His solo stuff is a little more country than Social Distortion, but it was amazing. I really liked his set. I would highly recommend it if you like a little bit of Southern, not too much Southern rock, but a little more Southern country, I guess. He was really, really good. And then we saw Our Lady Peace, or as I referred to them after their performance, Our Lady Piss.
What? Was it bad?
I had expected so many good things, and I don't know if it's because I was tired, hot, hungry, hot. Did I mention tired? At this point, anybody would have played it. My favorite band in the world could have played, and I probably would have been upset about it. I just didn't really care too much about it. So after this, we're going to go back to the main stage. Now, on the West stage, this is the bands that are playing: Rusted Root, Godsmack, Collective Soul, and Seven Dust. I want to see all those bands, but everybody in our group got to pick one band that they want to see. And the person that went with us, me and Jacob, and the other guy who shall not be named, the other guy picked Jewel.
I'm going to guess that wasn't the one you wanted to go to.
Someone saved my soul, because I had to sit through. Jewel wasn't that bad. Elvis Costello played before her, though. And Elvis Costello, I knew what's so funny about Peace, Love, and Understanding. That's pretty much all I knew. Really good set, really chill, people are kind of like, yeah, we're not going to mosh today because we ain't got no energy left. We're tired. So then the next set is Jewel. She comes out and they're all chanting for her to show her tits.
Oh no!
Show your tits. Show your tits. And her set, you could tell people were didn't want. I'm not saying they didn't want to be there for her set, but her set did not fit. Elvis Costello did because he was so old, and I think people respected that. Same thing with Willie Nelson. But Jewel, she was okay. She wasn't nothing right at home about.
They mentioned this in the documentary that they wanted to vary the lineup a little bit for Woodstock 99. They specifically said that they wanted kind of like a soft rock aspect of it. So nowadays, Brad and Barry talk about it on the Wood podcast that you have like lanes at Bonnaroo. It sounds like they had that kind of lane at Woodstock 99 because they had her, Sheryl Crow, and in retrospect, credit to them for having a lot of women on the lineup too, but the crowd wasn't the best for it.
That is a great idea. The problem with that is you've got them sandwiched in between like ICP, Korn, DMX. Nothing wrong with DMX. DMX played Friday, but DMX came right after Sheryl Crow, if my memory serves me correct. And there were people there who wanted to see DMX. And Sheryl Crow comes out and wants to tell you all she wants to do is have some fun. Well, all they want to do is see him DMX. So they're like, come on now, let's peel off those bottles of Bud and get your ass off stage. Let's go. DMX is coming out. It's so, let me see what I got down here. After Elvis Costello and Jewel, we get the cursed band of 1999, Creed comes out.
Oh,
this is before the whole world hated Creed. Their first album was out, and people were like, hey, man, I kind of like Creed.
Well, no, let's not understate it. They were huge at the time.
Right.
That whole album that Higher was on, like everybody was listening to that.
That was the second album.
Yeah. Oh, what? You're right.
The second album. This was My Own Prison. The first album was out. Second album hadn't come out, and we're getting ready to get to that in just a minute. So Creed's playing. They bring out Robbie Krieger from The Doors, which was awesome. He comes out and he plays with them, and it's great. They played Roadhouse Blues, and they played, I think, Riders on the Storm, and it's really cool. And he goes, we're going to play some songs off our new album. And they start playing it, and I'm like, man, this new shit sucks. I look at Jacob, and I said, man, this Higher song, he keeps talking about going higher. I hope I ain't got to listen to this shit when I get home. 2-3 weeks later, can you take me higher on every station on the radio?
Yeah.
This is before, everything else. Oh, I'm like, God. At this point, though, Creed is playing a pretty good rocking set. And everybody's drunk, buzzed, and if you go and try to buy water, none. Water's out. Cokes are out. And people that have waters and Cokes that are selling them are charging outrageous prices, like $8 for a Coke now. Bag of ice at that point became $50.
So was that actually from the vendors or people that were basically like scalping?
That was people from the vendors.
Oh,
because this is where they messed up. They did not have a contract for the vendors. So they brought in independent people and they could price whatever they want. See, kind of like this year, whenever Rue played and they didn't have a soda contract. That's why you had those cans. And that's why everybody sold lemonade. Because they did not have a soda contract. They could get by selling the cans, but that's a story for another day.
I actually didn't know that. That is a story. We would go by we're talking about Bonnaroo for a second, but we would go by the Coca-Cola activation thing that they had kind of near the Ferris wheel. And you just had to pretend to play with the stuff they had, and they'd give you a Coke. But that's a whole other story.
Well, I never knew about what you should have told me.
Yeah.
So next is going to be Red Hot Chili Peppers. Now, I got to go back a little bit because after Our Lady Peace, we went to our campsite to get our stuff for the day. And we go in. And at 3:30 in the afternoon, there is no security checking people in.
Oh.
You can just walk in with anything. There's not a soul wearing a damn yellow shirt. And I'm looking at Jacob and I said, this could be trouble. So we're going to Red Hot Chili Peppers, and somebody had this great damn idea of passing out candles. So we got these candles that had like a little piece of paper around it, and we're going to light the candles when they play Under the Bridge. Well, they come out, and the first thing I notice, Flea is completely naked. He is, I'm giving him something away. Sorry, but you're going to see it on the.
Well, that's. I already
you don't want to see full frontal nudity. Don't watch part 3. If you want to see what Sharla, if you want to see what Flea looks like naked, you're going to find out.
Back in that time, the Chili Peppers sometimes would wear a sock, but it sounds
there
like
is no sock.
There's no sock. Yeah.
There is no sock. There is sockless. I got news for you. Tonight she's going to want to watch that third part.
I think we will.
Don't have to get you up. So they come out there. The Chili Peppers have no set list. They come out there before each song. They talk to each other about what we're going to play. And then they kind of, to tune instruments, Flea would go like, I love you guys. I love mushrooms and marshmallows and everything else. So they're doing all this shit. And right before the Chili Peppers play, we hear these rumors going around that there's going to be a special performance at the very end. I had heard 3 rumors that pretty heavy. The first one I heard was Carlos Santana was going to come out and play the Star Spangled Banner.
That would have been cool because he was at the original one. And then, of course, the Star Spangled Banner is famous at Woodstock because Hendrix played that.
Right.
Yeah.
The second one we're hearing is that it's going to be Lenny Kravitz is going to come out and play it. Again, I'm totally cool with that. And then the third one, I knew it wasn't going to happen. I knew for a fact they had talked about the Rolling Stones coming out and playing like 2 or 3 songs, and then that was it.
Yeah, no way.
So, at this point, everybody's drunk. If you're drinking beer, you're drunk because the beer garden lowered their prices.
Oh my God.
They had beer, tons of beer, all kinds of beer. They had a contract with the beer people. The other people had no contract. So the beer garden, they're flowing the beer left and right. People are going in there, and I think it was like, originally I forgot how much it was. You could go in there, but the rumor was if you went in there and paid $10, you could have all the beer you wanted.
Oh my gosh. I guess maybe they were just trying to get rid of it.
You got people, it's 19, 20, 21, 22. They ain't checking ID. They don't give a flying crap. You can go in there and get drunk. So we got all these drunk people, and they're passing out these candles. Okay. And I remember turning around, and you couldn't see the end of where the crowd was. It was that far.
Yeah. So where were you for that show?
We were probably about where the sound stage is on the main stage.
Oh, is it
off to the left?
Stage?
Off to the left, yeah. So we were pretty close. And I turned around, and I can't see where the candles are stopping. And I'm like, okay, this is gonna. And we're doing Under the Bridge, and they're playing it. And all of a sudden, I look over, and I notice that there's something flaming, and it's fire. And they keep talking about how they have to they come out and they say, we have to get the fire trucks in to put out the fire. Well, next thing we know, Chili Peppers come back out. Their ending song was supposed to be Give It Away Now. Wasn't Give It Away Now. They decide they're going to play Fire.
Yeah.
Cover from Jimi Hendrix.
Yeah.
So we sit here, I'm like, oh my God, this is the craziest idea ever. So they play Fire, and stuff's catching on fucking fire. There's 2 bonfires that I can see, and there's a small one getting started. I'm like, okay, as soon as this shit's done, we got to get the hell out of here.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. Like, what's going through your mind at this point? Are you like in your head making an escape plan, or?
I have told them. I told them when it come time to get out. I said, Jacob, you grab my belt loop, and guy who shall not be named, you grab his belt loop, and I will get us out of here. And I said, don't worry, I will get us out of here. Exactly what I told them. So they're playing, and Chili Peppers get done. And here's a fun fact that you can get all your people on. Chili Peppers were not the last band playing at Woodstock 99 because they ended their set early, and Megadeth was on the other stage, and they were still playing. They ended with Peace Sells, but Who's Buying was the last song that they played. So technically, Red Hot Chili Peppers did not end Woodstock. Technically, Megadeth did because they were still playing, but they shut everything down. And then all of a sudden, the surprise act comes out, and it's a screen with Jimi Hendrix on it. And he's playing the Star Spangled Banner, and they got some lights on the stage. People are booing left and right. So we watch it, and I turn, and at this point, I see people pushing porta potties over, which some of them were already pushed over. It was
wait. So this is a piece I didn't know. Were they pissed because they thought that like the Rolling Stones or somebody was going to come out, and instead it was just an old video of Jimi Hendrix?
Yes, everybody was fucking pissed, man, because the rumor was going around. Vendors were saying it. Vendors were saying it. Staff was saying it. People that worked there, like members of the Peace Patrol, and they had these people that come around and were asking you, like, do you want to vote, stuff like that. And they said, hey, there's going to be a special surprise at the very end tonight. And then, you know, one of those people said it might even be Guns N' Roses, because at that time, Guns N' Roses were to play 1999. Holy crap! You know, it's like, wow. So, anyways, I turn around and there's fucking chaos. Shit's on fire. I said, all right. And this is where I tell them to grab the belt loop. So we start going, and I just start moving. Boom, 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 boom. Didn't care who was in front of me. Did not give a flying crap. This guy gets in front of me and goes, ah, like that. I grab him like this. I moved him here, and we just kept going.
Oh my gosh.
I'm going to apologize for this to the young lady that I elbowed in the jaw. I am so sorry. But you were not going to throw yourself on me, because that's what she was trying to do. She threw herself on me, and I elbowed her in the jaw. We get to our campsite. My tent is completely slashed where it says Kentucky Wildcats. All of our stuff is slashed. People next to us, we're trying to find water at this point because we haven't drank since forever. People next to us have beer, hot beer. I said, man, I ain't drinking no damn hot beer. The bus pulls up that we're supposed to get to. We see it. We get on, and we're sitting in our seats, and we can see a little bit of the fire. We take off. We have no idea how bad it gets.
Oh man. So you just saw like kind of the chaos of everybody trying to leave, but you got out before it got really
bad.
Okay.
Here's the problem. Jacob had a cell phone with no battery. At that point in time, cell phones just weren't, I mean, they were existent, but you weren't going to have a battery for that long. Our parents see all this fucking shit going on there, and they're like, we finally stopped. I think we finally got to Indianapolis, where we had a layover, because we went for a while. And it was weird. You could always tell when you got further away, because less and less people on the bus were from Woodstock. Yeah. So started off everybody from Woodstock.
There's no iPhones or anything like that. So you probably didn't know until you got to Indy, like how bad it really got back there.
I get to the phone. I call Mom. I said, hey, she goes, are you alive?
Well, you're talking to her.
Yeah. And she starts telling me, you got to see this. And so when we finally get back, we see all this damn carnage. And we realized at that point, that was it. There's never going to be another one. There is no, even I know they had talked about being another one. There is no way they were going to get enough insurance to do another one with how much damage they did. They were going to have to call it something else. They could maybe put Woodstock in parentheses at the very bottom. There was no way they were going to do it.
I mean, there was already bad PR for them 5 years before that at 94, because it wasn't nearly that bad, obviously. But they had like a giant rainstorm. It turned it into a mud pit. The one visual that always comes in my head for Woodstock 94 is everybody having a mud fight with Green Day. Like
Green Day. Yes, I had the whole set on there. He wanted him to throw it on there. He was telling them, come on. He was adding them on. And then my favorite part of Woodstock 94 is when Nine Inch Nails come out covered in mud.
Yeah.
About 10, 15 minutes before, they said, hey, let's do this. And they come out covered in mud. And it was just that set was really he introduced himself to America at that point.
Yeah.
Because, that's just when the Downward Spiral was just coming out, and it was amazing for him. Looking back on everything, I would have loved to have been there Friday. There's no way I would go today. No way.
Well, I don't think anybody would want to go to it now that we know what we do know. And it was rough because, as you've talked about, and they talk about in the documentary, they skimped out on so much. They loosened the budget and didn't pay for security as they should have. Like in the documentary, they just say They found a 15-year-old kid. They gave him a yellow shirt and they put him to work.
Right.
Didn't really give him any objective rules or anything like that. They don't care. They're going to go get messed up and also go see, the Limp Bizkit and the Chili Peppers and all them. They didn't really think ahead about like the vending situation or getting people water. It's a whole different world almost 25 years later. Like you go to Rue and you see people doing this professionally. They've got it down to a science. They've been doing it for 20 years successfully now. There's been some bumps in the road, but nothing near as drastically bad as Woodstock 99 was. Like,
you don't appreciate clean porta potties until you were there. They emptied them once a day.
Oh, God.
One time a
They do
day.
it like every half hour. It feels like.
And in front of the porta potties was all this mud and sludge. And guess what?
Mud.
It wasn't mud.
Yeah.
And it was like the people that the trash talkers and all that, the people pick up the trash at Rue, that clean vibes and stuff like that. There was nothing like that there.
Yeah.
They had a staff of, I think I saw one person picking up trash, and they were doing it voluntarily.
Yeah.
They weren't, and it was just looking back on it, it was the lineup was amazing.
Oh, I don't think there's been a lineup that explosive since then. Like just talking about like all the acts that you saw and some that you missed, I can't think of any lineup in the past 20, 25 years that even comes close to what that was, especially considering that so many of those acts were the act of the moment. Like Limp Bizkit, we look back on with a little bit of like irony now. I feel like 25% of their tour this year is based on, like Gen Z irony. But back in the day, they were the biggest band on the planet for a couple of months back in 1999. So for them to get them and everybody else that you saw, I don't think anything has come close to that.
Right, because the bands that I wanted to see Friday were, I wanted to see James Brown. He started the whole thing off. I wanted to see him. I wanted to see DMX. I was going to see Sheryl Crow to see DMX. I wanted to see The Offspring. And I'd never seen, I'd already seen Bush once before, and I wanted to see Bush again. Because when I saw Bush, I saw them like I was two from the top of Bridgestone before it was Bridgestone. So I was like, breathing Gavin Rossdale was like the size of like a penny. So, but even not going to see that, I thought it was an amazing lineup. The one problem that they had was they should have scheduled Saturday better. If you want to have some of those, they had all those raunchous bands right in a row. You could have scheduled some Sunday, I think, but the way that it was, the way the security was, the way it was run all the way around, it probably wouldn't have mattered.
Yeah, I suppose not. So I got a question for you. You've been going to Rue for so long now, and you saw the chaos of Woodstock 99. What ways is Bonnaroo similar to what you saw in 99? And clearly there's a lot that's different, but like, how would you compare the two? How do they overlay?
Okay. First things first, the things that are similar are, especially after this year, prices. Prices on everything went up. And I know there's inflation. I get that. But when you're paying $15 for a damn smoothie, come on. $15 for a smoothie? Really? Come on. If you want to charge me $10, that's okay. But $15, prices were similar. I feel like they try to, and not so much. Woodstock 99 felt corporate, real corporate, but Bonnaroo is starting to become that way because
we talked about that. Yeah.
You're getting Bacardi, and don't get me wrong. I appreciate these sponsors. I know they give out goodies, but it's, Bacardi's a major sponsor now. Jack Daniels is a major sponsor now. I know State Farm was a sponsor there for a couple, and it's becoming more about them than about the experience. Now, the ways that they're different, community first off. Community is like everything at Bonnaroo. It's a camping festival, but I have never once felt afraid at Bonnaroo. Now, a lot of people say, well, you wear Viking horns and a clock. That wouldn't matter. I still wouldn't feel afraid because of the community. Drug use at Woodstock 99 was rampant. I know there's drugs at Bonnaroo. I'm not going to pretend to be stupid and say there's not.
My God, what a surprise.
It's not as open. Woodstock 99, it was everywhere. It was open. No one cared. And you saw youngins, I call them like 13, 14, 15, 16, lighten up.
Yeah, now that's unexcusable. Yeah.
And I just, and the vibe of current Bonnaroo to me is more of the vibe of Woodstock 69.
Yes, exactly. I feel like Bonnaroo is kind of like a spiritual grandchild of the original Bonnaroo.
Yes.
Like a lot of the peace and love of like the old hippie one back in 69 has evolved, but it's still there. The spirit is still there at the current Bonnaroo, mostly because of the community stuff that you're talking about.
Right.
Like, let's not sugarcoat it. Bonnaroo, I almost called it Bonnaroo 69. Woodstock 69 was also a mess. It rained.
Yes.
They had supply problems. There was a lot of things that went wrong. But the reason that a lot of people remember it so fondly was because the community there really pulled together and really showed that, like, hey, hippies can love one another and take care of one another. And I feel like that, through a couple of generations now, has transferred over to our current generation that's been going to Bonnaroo for a good number of years now.
The one thing, I guess two things, that worry me about Bonnaroo, and I know everybody first off, I'm not going to bash Live Nation. They're in it to make money. Their bottom line is they have a festival. Their job is to make money. Sure, they want a great lineup. They want people to show. The bottom line is they want to make money. I just don't want it to become so corporate and so sanitized that we get the same acts every year. We used to get acts that were like Al Green played there. When Al Green played, it was awesome. Guar, of course, played there. That was amazing.
James Brown, he was there one year.
Yeah, James Brown. Billy Idol played there. Mm-hmm. Older acts, I feel like at Bonnaroo has abandoned them and just said, hey, we're going to me, Bonnaroo now, this is what they do. And a lot of people I talked to kind of said, you're being a Debbie Downer. They look for acts they could get in and around Nashville, fairly cheap.
Yeah.
Put them up there. And there's nothing wrong with that because there are acts around Nashville that are great. But if that's all you're getting, and then maybe a couple of ones at the very top you're getting that are, nationwide, then if I live in Nashville, why would I want to go to Bonnaroo when I can see these acts all the damn time?
That's a very fair point, and it might be one factor as to why it didn't sell that great this past year. But I want to go back to something you said. Let's be fair. They still book some of those legacy acts. We had Herbie Hancock this year. That was a good one.
Sure.
Kind of goes back to that. So I don't think they've entirely abandoned that, but they have cut back on that. Yeah. Another name that popped in my head while you were going off a list there, freaking Dylan played Bonnaroo once. Yep. It's been I can't remember what year, but it's been a long time. We haven't gotten a big legacy act like that in a long time. I know Herbie Hancock is a legend.
I guess, and see, the thing about it is they loop the headliner in, like they're going to say Stevie Nicks. And yes, Stevie Nicks is a legend. I totally agree with that. But back in the day, we would have late night with Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Yeah.
And you got Earth, Wind, and Fire playing. And then, they had ZZ Top one year. They had Alice Cooper. I remember I got goosebumps thinking about it. I remember getting ready for Alice Cooper, and he come out with Black Widow, and I was just like, and don't get me wrong, EDM is great. In my opinion, I'm probably going to really make some people mad now. You don't get that experience. When that guy comes down and drops the beat, it's great. There is a certain DJ who plays with a certain bus. He's exempt from this. We won't mention any names. But when you get like the legacy acts, like the Alice Cooper and the Billy Idols, and we had Weird Al Yankovic play one year.
That was great. We were there for that one.
Actually, all three of those played the same year. I think Cooper.
Yeah, it was. 13 was a great year.
And ZZ Top played that year. And they were all late night. And you had a choice. You had something that was huge that you could go see. And I know they're appealing for a younger crowd. And I'm getting older. Pretty soon I'll say, get off my lawn. I got that. But don't forget what got you there.
I agree. I've mentioned this before. We've talked about what we would like to see out of Bonnaroo in 5 or 10 years. And that for me is one of the top two things. One of them is community, but that's the other. They need to continue to be Bonnaroo in how they book the lineup. The way that you mentioned how Woodstock 99 reminds me of some of those great Bonnaroo lineups that we've had. They still had like some of the great legacy acts. They had James Brown, some of those other names that you mentioned. We really need that. It's not just the top headliners and like the undercard right under that, but it's like the whole lineup. You want to see some of those legacy acts. You want to see some of the great ones that you haven't heard of yet. Some of them that have been like making waves on blogs and get a couple of mentions on Rolling Stone or whatever before they really blow up. We've moved away from that just a little bit. I feel like we got a little bit of a taste of it this year. I feel like they did a pretty darn good job of it in 19. I feel like that was probably the best variety in a lineup in many years. But, I mean, let's give them some credit. COVID threw a monkey wrench into everything.
Yes, it did. And I understand that.
Yeah.
The thing that I think kind of like that I tell everybody is, I don't know, were you there the year Cake played?
I was, but I missed that show.
Okay. That was the biggest crowd I've ever seen on the Witch stage. Ever. And it's Cake. Third Eye Blind play.
Oh, yes, we were the rail for Third Eye Blind. That was amazing. Charlotte, tell him what happened. You met like a 16-year-old girl or whatever. Yeah. She was obsessed with them.
It was on the rail for Third Eye Blind. That has been to like 18 shows.
Yeah.
That's great. But if you guys could, hopefully you turned around and looked, that was packed. And don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to say anything bad, but it's Third Eye Blind. If you would bring in acts from the 90s, those bands right there from like 93 maybe to like 98, 99.
Everclear.
And they're going to play. You can probably give them some of them peanuts to play, and I just don't know why they don't do it. I don't know.
Well, from your mouth to God's ears, hopefully. I know that things are changing a little bit since they've had C3 do a lot of the operations. Last I have heard, I'll ask Barry to clear this up for us. Like some of the guys in Knoxville are still doing the booking. Some of the people that have historically been with AC Entertainment in the past. I hope that the booking issues in the past year or two because of COVID will stop being issues so they can get back to this kind of lineup like you're talking about. I guess we'll find out. Today, we got the announcement that was not really a new announcement.
Yeah. It was already posted there.
We got the dates. But there was a little tease I think it was on Twitter saying like, well, if you sign up for the text alert, you'll get first dibs on the lineup. So clearly they're already working on it. Mm-hmm. Maybe they have less roadblocks than they had this past year. Time will tell, I suppose. I don't know. We got a long time to speculate about that. I don't see any reason that it wouldn't be right after New Year's like it has been the past 5, 6, 7 years,
Well, in closing about our topic tonight, Woodstock 99 was an event. It was something that I enjoyed. It was something that at the same point in time terrified me. It also made me realize just how vulnerable, especially when it comes to women and rock shows.
Yeah.
And they didn't talk about it on the video, but Dexter Holland from Offspring during his set told the crowd, he said, if I see any of y'all grabbing a girl because she wants to crowd surf, he just called him out, basically called him a dick and all kinds of stuff. And we need more of that. I feel like at Rue we have it, but we still need more of it as a whole across the rock shows. And I'm a rocker, I'm not going to lie, but if a girl wants to crowd surf, let her crowd surf. If Charlotte decides, hey, I want to crowd surf, please let me be there if you decide. But if I want to crowd surf, then you want to crowd surf and you want it to be with fear of not somebody groping you, trying to fill you up. And if you do crowd surf and somebody tries to fill you up, I will knock the living hell out of them. So we'll be okay.
Thank you, Pondo. Dexter from the Offspring was far ahead of his time because I've heard of so many other acts doing that same thing. If they see something up from the stage, they will tell the band, hey, stop, throw that dude out. It's got to end. And I feel like so many acts have taken that responsibility in recent years. And good on them. That's cool that you said that about the Offspring. I hadn't heard that story. It's cool that they were so far ahead of their time with that.
Yeah.
That guy, actually, have you heard? He's actually a doctorate in his field, I believe.
Yes.
He's a cool dude. He's a
crazy because he's like way intelligent and you're like, he plays with a guy named Noodles. I mean, it's just get better than that. I mean, good Lord. Well, he doesn't work for NASA. We can't all work for NASA.
Well, hey, Pondo, I really appreciate you jumping on with us and telling us the story.
No problem.
You had mentioned before that you were at Woodstock 99, but after we watched the thing on Netflix this past week, I wanted to get up with somebody, and then it popped back in my head after you mentioned him. I'm like, oh, this is the perfect man, because I knew that you would have the best stories about how fun and how dangerous it was at the same time.
Getting back home on the bus was a whole fucking hell of a lot easier than getting there. I'll tell you that.
I imagine so.
One thing I will definitely say. We followed the exact way he had it set up. We got back on time, no layovers, and we talked to the guy there. Hey, this happened, this happened. He said, I gave you the exact orders. So you didn't tell Greyhound they suck. So once again, guys, thanks so much for having me. And once again, I appreciate everything that you guys do for the Root community. Like I said, I've said it before, I'll say it again. People like you keep me coming back.
No, it's people like you that keep us all coming back, dude.
I'm riding y'all's glow. You guys do so many good things for the community. You watch out for other people. You stay on top of it. You keep us involved year round. You and the What podcast and Ruham, all you guys do such an amazing job. My heart goes out to you, and you can pay me my fee for saying that.
Okay, check's in the mail, my dude. But hey, listen, same back at you, man. Like, we got so many good comments when you hosted that episode for us a couple months ago. And I still hear people raving about that time that you were on the What podcast. Pondo, you are so beloved by this whole community. And I know a lot of people have had you in their thoughts and prayers the past month or so. Listen, we're all pulling for you, man.
I appreciate that. The moment I get some news, I'll give you guys an update. And don't worry, I'm not going to go streaking. So you guys are free to go outside. I once said if I got bad news, I was going to go streaking. I changed my mind. I didn't want to go blind.
Well, thanks for the warning. Yeah. All right, man. We'll keep in touch. Hey, we all love you, man. Take care of yourself.
Pleasure's mine being on here. Thanks, guys.
Bye.
See you, dude.
Well, thank you so much, Pondo. That was an awesome interview. I can't believe he was actually in the pit for the Limp Bizkit show.
Yeah. I knew that he was there. He had mentioned it once, but I didn't know that he was in the middle of the war zone for things like Limp Bizkit and Red Hot Chili Peppers. Like, those were two of the shows where I feel like most of the carnage happened.
Right. Like, he wasn't just there. He was there.
Yeah. Oh, man. It could have been a lot worse for him if he hadn't gotten out at the end of that Chili Peppers or Megadeth show.
Right. That's so wild how he talks about he looked at the corner of his eye and he saw a fire going. And then he saw another fire going and another little one being lit. And, like, he was like, we got to get out.
Well, he got out just in time. If you have seen either of those documentaries, you can see how bad it got at that show. Like, MTV bailed because they felt like they were in danger. Oh, man. Just go watch those documentaries if you want to see for yourself what Pondo was talking about and how bad it got after he got the heck out of there.
But, like, imagine, like, you know, back in 99, like we were talking at the end, you don't have internet, you know, on your cell phone to look up and see, you know, how bad. So he really didn't know how bad it was for
hours,
so long,
probably,
you know?
Yeah. I don't think a lot of people knew how bad it was. Like I said, MTV decided to bail and get the heck out of there. So a lot of the things that you see in those documentaries are things that weren't broadcast until after the fact. I remember in 99, I was at summer camp while Woodstock was happening. And there were some kids at the camp that were going back to their house instead of staying overnight that had big brothers or big sisters or somebody that had bought the pay-per-view to watch it. And we were hearing the stories secondhand from them or seeing bits on MTV about how crazy it was getting, like starting on Saturday. They talk a little bit in that documentary about how perhaps people were like letting a little bit of rage out. Pondo mentioned how he felt like Woodstock 99 was a little bit corporate. And that does give me reason for pause because he's right that Bonner is starting to become a little bit more corporate these days.
I completely agree, especially after this year. I think I saw more corporations this year than I've ever seen before.
And I'm going to be honest with you. This isn't specific to Bonnery, but just kind of like our culture right now. Like, so from the bottom up, going from like, you know, Gen Z up to us elder millennials, I feel like a lot of us are seeing some stuff right now, right? Like after going through COVID, now seeing inflation, there being a lot of political problems in this country the past couple of years, and now things becoming more corporate. You know, we learn from history so that it doesn't repeat itself, and I'm starting to wonder if history is starting to repeat itself.
You know, last year, Eric, our friend Eric, he did a survey which corporations would you like to see sponsor Bonnaroo? And one of the answers was none. Corporations suck.
Yeah, I do feel like, maybe this is going to be a wide range, but say from like 15 to 40 something. That crowd in that generation or two is starting to turn against that kind of corporatism, because we've seen what it can do. Like those of us that are a little older remember, the financial meltdown of 2008, and now all of us are starting to deal with like the inflation, like Pondo was talking about. Again, we learn history so that it doesn't repeat itself. I feel like there's some lessons to be learned from what, the atmosphere was like around Woodstock 99, because I would hate to see a repeat of that,
Exactly.
I mean, not just at Bonnaroo, but at any festival. If things were put into the same kind of recipe, who's to say that it couldn't happen again? So I think it's something for us all to be mindful of. And thankfully, there's such a good community and atmosphere at Bonnaroo where I really find it impossible that anything of a Woodstock 99 level would ever happen there. It's so much more well run, and the community just loves one another. So I just see that as next to impossible. But then I look at some of these other festivals, and I'm not going to name names, but I'm like, it's not out of the realm of possibility that things could devolve to that again, pretty soon.
Oh yes, I agree.
Yeah.
And I say that based on a lot of the comments I see online.
Yeah. So, yeah, just watch those documentaries and maybe learn from a little bit of history. It doesn't seem like 1999 was that long ago to some of us, but gosh, it's getting close to like 25 years ago now.
Right.
It's getting kind of crazy. Man, it's wild. Hey, before we get out of here, there was that text that we mentioned with Pondo. We got the dates today, which was a weird announcement given that they already announced it. I feel like I saw a number of signs up when we were heading out on Monday.
Right, there were definitely signs up. And I think, I could be wrong, I think they had it up online during Bonnaroo 22.
Yeah. It's funny that they're treating this as a new announcement.
Right. I know you could go online and buy your tickets. I know there were signs with QR codes up, and it was buy your tickets for 23.
Yeah.
But anyways, we got that text today, and it said, what was it, June the 15th through the 18th?
Pretty much the same weekend. So it'll fall on the same Father's Day weekend with the Juneteenth holiday on Monday, just like it was this past year. And by the way, I hope they recognize Juneteenth. They didn't really in any meaningful way this past year. I feel like they really should this time around.
Someone else had mentioned that, and that's a very, 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 very good point, and something that they should really do. And
yeah, we recognize Pride Month as we should, but
right.
I feel like Juneteenth is a big deal too that should also be recognized. Mm-hmm. So I hope they fix that next year.
Right, absolutely. But the text said, Bonnaroo, we are back next June 15th through the 18th, 2023. Stay tuned. You'll be the first to know our 2023 lineup.
Yeah. I don't think that's to imply that it's coming any sooner. It'll probably still be the week or so after New Year's.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And they also put things out on their social media as well, which basically said the same thing. And then the thing on their social media encouraged people to sign up to get text alerts. And the reason that Bonnaroo wants you to sign up to get text alerts on your phone or to sign up for their email list is so that they can plug in your phone number and plug in your email for marketing purposes.
Speaking of corporatism.
Yeah, speaking of corporatism, they want your phone number and they want your email address because they're going to take that and they're going to plug it into sites like Facebook or whatever, and they're going to use that to serve up ads to you.
Okay, well, that's interesting to know. That's a good thing to factor in. Let's be honest. The people that sign up for that are going to get the lineup maybe 60 seconds earlier than anybody else.
Well, yeah, exactly.
If you're listening to this, that means that you're already plugged into all things Bonnaroo. You're going to know. You're going to know soon enough. Mm-hmm. It's not like it's going to be days early or anything. Are they really going to make like thousands of people sign an NDA to not like give it out?
Right.
Okay, let's be honest. The lineup goes out an hour or two early to media people every year. That leaks anyway.
Right.
It shows up on InfoRoo like 10 minutes after the radio stations get it and stuff. Come on. If you're plugged into Bonnaroo, it's not going to be hard to find that. You don't necessarily need to sign up for any text alert or anything.
Well, I always thought it was so funny talking about serving ads to you, what I just mentioned. Every single year, I get ads served to me on Facebook. Buy tickets for Bonnaroo. Buy tickets for Bonnaroo.
Did they not know you already got it?
And it's like, I buy my tickets, Black Friday every year.
Yeah.
You
work in this kind of deal.
And, that just it's always funny to me because, I'm oversaturated,
Yeah. It's like, do you really need to spend any ad dollars on me?
On
I have a
me?
Bonnaroo bus next to my house. You don't need to upsell me. I already am going to go. You got my money.
Me.
Yeah, you got my money. Don't spend any of it
No,
advertising
it's
to me.
funny.
Yeah. Whatever.
But I'd rather get an ad from Bonnaroo than from Bacardi. So there you go.
Good callback.
There you go.
I like that. Speaking of things being non-corporate, we're getting closer to Burning Man, Charla.
Yes, we are.
Yes,
it's
I know.
19 days.
Thereabouts. I think next week we might be talking about that a little bit more. We are bringing a little bit of Bonnaroo to Burning Man. I think we're about halfway done getting everything ready. And that's thanks to our Patreons. Sharla, would you like to give them a shout out?
Yes, I would.
Let's go through that, and then I'll talk about it.
Okay. Perry, Preston, a.k.a. Presto, Nick, Maddie, Sean, McFerg, Andrew, William, John, Captain Dan, Lucy, Benjamin, Ross, Kent, Michael, Randy, Joshua, Madison, Scott, Greg, Eric and Ben, Natalie, Beyond the Hypnotic, that's Jace, Evan, Jay, Chloe, and Sean.
Thanks, guys. We are doing the Patreon a little bit differently for a month or two. We're putting together some cool Bonnaroo-related art that we're bringing over to Burning Man. And we have a project that we're going to work on, and we're going to tie it in with the podcast. So Charla and I were brainstorming this past week about how we wanted to bring some Bonnaroo-branded positivity to Burning Man. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to have people take a Post-it note or a little rip-off note or whatever. They're going to put it in a shoebox, and they're going to write down something positive about themselves, their friends, Burning Man, whatever kind of positivity they want to write down. They're going to put it in the little shoebox. We're going to bring all of those notes back here, and we're going to read them off on the podcast to share some Burning Man positivity. Maybe some of them be goofy and funny, but that's okay. So that's kind of what we're going to do. We'll have more details for you on that next week. Thanks again to our Patreons. It is at patreon.com/Rebus.
We should put them in the Bonnaroo lunchbox.
That's a good idea. We'll do that. Wait,
yes.
Can you, though? Because you're supposed to be non-corporate at Burning Man. Technically, that's a corporate trademark. We got to do some research. We'll let you guys know next week. Okay. We got to think about that. Yeah. Anyways, it is at patreon.com/Rebus. Once we get past the Burning Man thing, we're going to resume our normal Patreon activity. 80% of everything will go to the Bonnaroo Works Fund, and the remaining 20% will fund some party favors. Well, not those kind. I know where your head is at. Things like wristbands like we did this past year. Whatever our Patreons decide, we'll do that for the Rebus Party at Bonnaroo 2023. And that weekend in June. The same weekend in June.
Yes.
Yeah. Anything else for this week, Charla?
I think we covered it.
Yeah. Ricky the cat's been sitting here the whole time. I'm sorry he didn't contribute, but he's half asleep.
Ricky,
wake up.
Ricky?
Oh, he's awake. He's bored by all this. All right, guys. Couple of things coming up. So next week, I think, is going to be a little bit more in-depth on Burning Man for anybody that's interested in ever going to that. Charlotte and I are going to talk about our plans and kind of go in-depth on that. Charlotte, I was given a heads up from our good friend Celia from the Parachute People and Roof Fitness. Did you know we're coming up on our 100th episode here in a couple of weeks?
We are.
Yeah.
Yes,
I
noticed that, yeah.
She had a great recommendation, and I think it's what we're going to do. So for here in a couple of weeks for our 100th episode, we're going to have a special podcast where we're going to invite a lot of our friends who also started going to Bonnaroo in 2013. There are so many people that are going to be celebrating their 10-year anniversary at Bonnaroo next year who started that year. There's like this big generation of Bonnaroovians where that was their rookie year. With the 10-year anniversary coming up, we thought it would be a great idea to get everybody together. So all credit to her. That was her idea. We realized the 100th episode was coming up, so that's going to be the special one to celebrate the 100th episode.
That'll be a good one.
Yeah. So if you started going in 2013, hit us up. We'll get you on that episode as well. It'll be real fun. I think that's it for this week, Charlotte.
Okay.
All right. We're 2.5 weeks out from Burning Man, and how many months are we from Bonnaroo 23? I'm not counting that one yet. We'll get to that soon enough. All right.
I have to look that one up.
Thanks again to Pondo for calling us in, telling us the Woodstock story. That was so fun. We'll see you guys next week. Until then, get out there and radiate positivity.
Bye.
See you then.